To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits, our hearts, our lives. Welcome to our Christmas Vesper service. If you are here bearing sadness that is particularly inconsolable at Christmas, if your memories of Christmas leave you mainly with the need to try and survive it, if you find yourself feeling bluest at this time when so many messages are otherwise, you are especially welcome here tonight. For we gather at this service to recognize that Christmas can be difficult in many ways. Whether it's the absurd outrageousness of the holiday itself, the terrible and damaging underlying assumption that everyone's childhood Christmases were cheerful times, the anguish of not fitting in, or the ever-constant and inevitable problem of disappointment. Christmas can be a difficult time to get through. With readings and videos, music and silence, we'll seek to make peace with this complicated season, taking from it the best that it has to offer of hope and good cheer. Let us enter this time with full, if yet broken hearts. And to begin, I offer this reading, titled Merry Christmas, written by Beth Graham. To those who can think only of the color of their eyes when they hear the word red, so raw still is a recent loss, I want to say Merry Christmas. To those on the street corner holding up cardboard signs and holding out hopeful palms, I want to say Merry Christmas. To those who rail against the timing of their illness for emerging at this point in the calendar year, I want to say Merry Christmas. To those who stare out of windows all day, remembering years gone by, remembering when we could be together, wondering where the time has gone, wondering how they can still be alive when so many who have peopled their lives are gone from this earth. I want to say Merry Christmas. To those who try to shield their shattered spirits with a numbing silence called depression, I want to say Merry Christmas. To those who cover their bruised bodies so that others won't see the battle wounds of their marriage or the scars of their family ways, I want to say Merry Christmas. For those who have been deeply hurt this year by me or by others, through careless words or selfish deeds, I want to say Merry Christmas. To each and every one of these siblings, I want to give this greeting. But when I try, my mouth goes dry and the words get stuck in my throat. So I will simply say this. You linger with me long after I have left you. You stay by my side when I'm no longer by yours. I approach this Christmas Day with you in my heart. I pray this is always so. For until I can see in your eyes that a holiday centered on promise and hope has meaning for you, my work in this world is not done. So, Merry Christmas, I say, to all who can believe in these words. This season and beyond, may we stand with all those who can't.
Lay down your weary tune, lay down the song you strum, and rest yourself 'neath the strength of strings no voice can hold to hum. Struck by the sounds before the sun, I knew the night had come. The morning breeze like a bugle blew against the drums of dawn. Lay down your weary tune, lay down the song you strum, and rest yourself 'neath the strength of strings no voice can hold to hum. The ocean wild like an organ played, the seaweed wove in strands, the crashing waves like cymbals clashed against the rocks and sands. Lay down your weary tune, lay down the song you strum, and rest yourself 'neath the strength of strings no voice can hold to hum. The last of leaves fell from the trees and clung to a new love's breast. The branches bend like a banjo mourned to the winds that listen the best. Lay down your weary tune, lay down the song you strum, and rest yourself 'neath the strength of strings
Her name was Gussie, Gussie Brock, but to the members of her Unitarian congregation, she was simply and lovingly known as Gussie the Viking. As Unitarian Universalist minister Robert Fulghum, her one-time minister, tells it, long ago, her Norse ancestors migrated west in open wooden longboats across the North Atlantic to settle in Iceland in the 9th century. The restless gene in Viking blood must have remained potent because when Canada opened the Western prairies to homesteaders after World War I, Gussie's family left Reykjavik and immigrated to Alberta to settle near Medicine Hat on the South Saskatchewan River. They dug in on raw land, built a sod house, and went to work farming in harsh country through mean winters, hot summers, relentless winds, and drought. A tough life in hard times, matched by strong people. Somehow they hung on, but just barely. Several Christmases ago, Fulghum asked the members of his congregation to share Christmas stories from their lives, which he planned to compile into his Christmas Eve sermon. The one that moved him most was Gussie's. Looking back almost 80 years, she said, life was so desperate out there on the prairies, and we were so poor that the most we could ever expect for Christmas was to be alive, warm, and with something to eat. The worst Christmas of all came after a week of heavy snow. Firewood was scarce. We were burning dried cow pies for heat and huddling together in a heap under all our blankets, in all our clothes, to keep from freezing to death. We were living off boiled potatoes and turnips, and it looked like there might not be enough to last until spring. On that Christmas morning, my father got up and made a fire as usual. He was a solemn, stubborn, hard-working man. We knew that he loved us, but like most Icelanders, he didn't express his feelings openly. It took all he had just to keep us alive. But he did that with all his heart and soul and strength. My mother was ill, too sick to get up or eat. When Father called us kids to the fire, we didn't expect much, least of all any gifts. But as we crawled sleepy-eyed and shivering out of bed, we stopped, astonished. For there in the dim light, we saw on the table an orange, a single orange on a white napkin. We were dumbstruck. An orange? An orange! Out here in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of winter, an honest-to-God orange, glowing in the dim light like a golden ball. Merry Christmas, he said. The orange is for you all. We wondered, how on earth did he get that orange? Where? When? How long had he had it? It was 2 days' ride on horseback to the railroad line, 3 days to the nearest village. He was capable of doing something like that, but we wanted details. We begged him to tell us. But all he would say was, it's a miracle. And we might as well believe it because there it was. We sat still as he so carefully peeled the orange and divided the sections to give each child an equal share, along with pieces of the peel. The smell filled the room. Our mouths watered in anticipation. We were almost afraid to touch the miracle in front of us. And then, oh my, what a moment. We began to eat the orange, the juice dripping on our fingers and down our chins. I can still taste it, the sweetest thing I ever ate. But then my oldest brother suddenly said, wait. He pointed at Dad. We saw that Dad had given all of the orange to us, the children, every bit, leaving none for himself. So my brother took a knife and cut a piece of his orange and placed it in front of my father. And the rest of us did the same. My father divided his share in 2 parts. "These are for your mother when she's well," he said. And then we watched as slowly, like a man taking Holy Communion, he ate his share of the orange. It was the only time I ever saw my father cry. As the years went by, the story of the orange became a family legend, told by the generations. The kids always said the orange was the finest gift they ever got. But our father said it was different for him. He said his best Christmas present ever was the moment when his children noticed he was without and gave back to him part of what he had given them. I suspect we all have our own oranges. At least I hope each of us has gathered up the moments of our lives that tell of gifts freely given, gifts gratefully received, and gifts shared from the abundance of our own being. Those unexpected moments that enrich our lives because we never really saw them coming. What Gussie's father said was a miracle, what some might call grace, or what we simply see as love in action. But the only miracle behind that improbable orange was the love of a father who carried it in his very human hands across the hard odds of an Alberta winter to place it on that table for those he loved. That orange was nothing less than an act of great devotion. Gussie and her siblings knew it, and led by love, they responded in kind.
If you are, at first, really fucking anxious, just wait. It'll get worse. And then you'll get the hang of it. Maybe. Start with the reasonable feelings, discomfort, lack of focus, the sadness of alone. You can try to do yoga. You can shut off the radio when it gets to you. You can message your family or your friends or your colleagues. You're not supposed to leave your home anyway, so it's safe for you. There's also the gym. You can't go there, but you could pretend to. You could get bendy by yourself in your bedroom. And there's public transportation, probably best to avoid it. But there's prayer and meditation, yes, always employ it. If you have pains in your chest because your anxiety won't rest, take a moment, take a breath. Start simple. Things you can handle based on your interests, your issues and your triggers and your inner logistics. I miss lunch counters so much I've been eating sandwiches and pickles while hanging unabashedly with my phone. When you are tired, again, of still being alone, make yourself a dinner, but don't invite anybody over. Put something green in it or maybe orange. Chips are fine sometimes, but they won't keep you charged. Feed your heart. If people are your nourishment, I get you. Feel the feelings that undo you while you have to keep apart. Watch a movie in the dark and pretend someone is with you. Watch all of the credits because you have time and not much else to do. Or watch all of the credits to remember how many people come together just to tell a story, just to make a picture move. And then set yourself up dancing, like it's a club where everybody knows you, and they're all gonna hold you all night long. They're gonna dance around you and with you and on their own. It's your favorite song with the hardest bass and the cathartic drums. Your heart pumps hard, you belong, you put your hands up to feel it. With the come down comes the weeping. those downward eyes and feelings. The truth is you can't go dancing, not right now, not at any club or party in any town. And the heartbreak of this astounds you. It joins old aches way down in you. You can visit them, but please don't stay there. Go outside, if you're able. Breathe air. There are trees for hugging, don't be embarrassed. It's your friend, it's your mother, it's your new crush. Lay your cheek against the bark, it's a living thing to touch. Sadly, leave all benches empty. Appreciate the kindness in the distance of strangers. As you pine for company and wave at your neighbors, savor the depths of your conversations, the layers uncovered in this strange space and time. Society is afraid of change, and no one wants to die. Not now from a tiny virus, not later from the world on fire. But death is a truth we all hate to know. We all get to live, and then we all have to go. In the meantime, we're surrounded, we're alone. Each a thread woven in the fabric, unraveling in moments though. Each a solo entity spinning on its axis, forgetting that the galaxy includes us all. Here in our fall. From grace, from each other, from God, whatever, doesn't matter. The disaster is that we believe we're separate, we're not. As evidenced by viruses taking down societies, as proven by the loneliness inherent in no gathering, as palpable as the vacancy in the space of one person hugging. If this disruption undoes you, if the absence of people unravels you, if touch was the tether that held you together, and now that it's severed, you're fragile too. Lean into loneliness and know you're not alone in it. Lean into loneliness like it is holding you, like it is a generous representative of a glaring truth. Oh, we are connected. We forget this, yet we always knew.
Marcy and I will now offer a litany of comfort, and if you are comfortable doing so, I invite you to respond aloud with your mute on in the silence of your space. When you hear the words, "This season brings forth many feelings," we invite you to respond with, "We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together." Marcia.
All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There is grief with the loss of relationships. Those we love no longer with us because of death. Those we have loved who are estranged from us. Those we love yet experience a diminishment of intimacy. There is grief with the loss and change of relationship. Grief, bittersweet, for it is a consequence of the presence of love. This season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart not all is joyful. There may be pain in our bodies, physical pain as a natural outcome of aging, physical pain that presents itself in illness, pain in the body that forces us to change and imposes limitations. Pain, bittersweet, for physical experience includes both pain and pleasure. And this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, Yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There may be anger and regret with the memories we hold. Anger with past experiences of hurt or abuse. Regret of our own actions that may have caused hurt to others. Anger that life has not turned out as we imagined. Regret for what we might have said or done. Anger and regret, bittersweet in presenting the possibility for healing and forgiveness. This season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart not all is joyful. There may be uncertainty that accompanies transition and change. Uncertainty of what the future may bring with changes. Uncertainty of direction or purpose after retirement or change of vocation. Uncertainty when changing resident by choice or by necessity. Uncertainty, bittersweet, for change, a constant in life, lets us know we are alive. And change, along with this season, bring forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There may be a sense of hopelessness, hopelessness in the face of so much violence and suffering, hopelessness with attempts to heal our aching world and ourselves, hopelessness in witnessing what we have not managed to accomplish, hopelessness, bittersweet, for its longing reminds us of our capacity for hope and the human spirit's tenacity and courage that rests deep within each of us as this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart not all is joyful. There is loneliness. Loneliness when we find ourselves alone after long partnership. Loneliness when we are separated from loved ones. Loneliness when we move to a new community and struggle to find our way. Loneliness that never seems filled even with good company. Loneliness that is an ever-present aching in the heart. Loneliness, bittersweet, for it is only felt when we have known connectedness, and this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. We know grief and pain. We know anger and regret. We know hopelessness and loneliness. We know all these feelings. We name them. We live them. For such is the human experience. That love presents us with the possibility of being hurt, with the grief of loss. That connection holds the potential of loneliness and uncertainty. That forgiveness can begin to heal anger and regret. That being alive is a courageous act in which we engage all our emotions. And this season brings forth so many feelings.
During this candle lighting ritual, 4 candles will be lit, each with a different focus. You are invited to light candles in your home if you choose. During the musical interlude that will follow each candle lighting, you may write in the chat, speak aloud, though remaining on mute, your own voice offering some comfort, or hold in silence what is on your heart. As we approach the shortest day of the year, and as we head into the longest night, and head towards the end of this year, we gather mindful of the challenges that have multiplied throughout the year. As we look back at it all at once, we are in danger of being overwhelmed by its tragedies, by sickness and virus, by violence, fire, hurricane, earthquake, and more. Our aim tonight is to acknowledge this, to grieve this, and to know that in all of this, there is the possibility of more light and more connection. If we are to be overwhelmed, let it be that we are overwhelmed with the assurance that we are not alone. The first candle is one of remembrance, the remembering of relationships, of those now gone from our lives through death or estrangement. For some, the pandemic has taken loved ones. We mourn the loss of those close to us and those whose names we do not know. We mourn those who perished while working to save other lives. We mourn too those who died not of pandemic, but of other causes. And we mourn the loss, in many cases, of our ability to be with them as they passed. Our loss of gathering together for comfort in the ways we need so much. May those now remembered be on your heart, and you are invited to write their names in the chat during the musical interlude as I light our candle of remembrance. Next, a candle for our losses, and there have been abundant losses. Loss of physical connection, loss of what we might thought of as normal, loss of plans and visions, loss of abilities and possibilities. And for many, the pandemic we're in has taken the security of food, shelter, care for families, and medical care. We grieve the loss of businesses that could not withstand the circumstances. These are not just businesses, but dreams born of passion and hard work. We lament those who find themselves needing to rely on others for help, when what they really want to do is be able to help others. We mourn this night the loss of liveliness. May the losses present with you today be felt and named. You are invited to write them in the chat during the musical interlude, and I light a candle for our losses. A candle for anxieties, for so many. For so many, this year has robbed us of our energy, our enthusiasm, and our sense of well-being. It has increased the collective anxiety. I think of the teachers and leaders and caregivers and workers who are struggling to help those in their care, themselves exhausted and needing the sustenance they give to others. We recognize all who are suffering with anxiety and depression, who are finding it difficult to live each day with fullness or to find hope for tomorrow. We mourn those we have lost to suicide. We mourn those who find themselves addicted to substances in order to ease the pain that feels unbearable. We grieve those who are experiencing their place of shelter as an abusive place from which they struggle to escape. May those anxieties now with you be named. You are invited to write them in the chat during the musical interlude. I light our candle for the shared anxiety. And our fourth candle, a candle of hope. We light this candle as a sign of hope, of our belief. We believe in the power of love, the resilience found in connection, and the strength of community. May this light cast its glow on all the surrounding prayers that we have prayed, those persons, issues, and situations that have been named, and the hopes that we hold in our hearts. Let us remember, too, that this light resides within us, perhaps dim for a time, but always lit, an ember of the holy inside of us. This light reminds us that we are not alone. May those hopes now resting with you be named. You're invited to write them in the chat during the musical interlude. And then we will sing together with Jane. I light our final candle for hope.
Let this holiday season be a time for engaging heart to heart. For those who, like the innkeeper, turned us away. For holidays that didn't live up to our expectations. For ghosts of Christmas past that haunt us. For those who gave us gifts, but never their presence. For gifts we yearned for, but did not receive. For things we received, but never wanted. For those who offered us cheer when we needed comfort. For those who offered us love that we could not accept. For those we rejected, offering no room in our homes or hearts. For ourselves, who could not give through fear. For the times we saw the star in the east, but failed to follow it. For times we followed the star, but it did not lead where we hoped. For miracles gone unnoticed. For wise men and women whose gifts we rejected. All these we remember, we forgive, we love. In doing so, may we be granted abiding peace.
As our time comes to a close, I invite you to remain in the silence of your own space for as long as you need. And then to go forth with my hope for you that this has brought some comfort in this challenging time. Blessed be.